a little bit of an impromptu live just to we can chat about all the things for sure, but we've got an upcoming event that we're really excited about, and we haven't talked about it a ton because we like to try to keep it within the community and be like more like word of mouthy stuff because it's one of those like we're community is everything, and it's something that I'm really proud of within the master class. It's something I'm really proud of basically with everything we've ever done. It's been about building community, and we just kind of wanted to chat about that, chat about like how we struggle with all the things. If you guys didn't read the post that I wrote about yesterday, it's going to be the main topic for what I talk about during this clinic, and kind of the underlying of what we wanted to chat a little bit about today in terms of how hard it is to be in an industry where so much of what's the norm is not healthy and it's not good. And we're taught and consistently told to like and encouraged to push past boundaries of horses, push past boundaries in our own intuitions. And really, the best way that I have personally found taking myself out of that realm and moving into where we've been into is because of community. And because even if it's just one person that you can go to and talk about, like, hey, I'm going to do this one thing different. Like, I just need one person to tell me I'm not crazy. I need one person to celebrate with me. I need, one person to tell me to pull my head out of my ass because, 8 times out of 10, that's also what the problem is too. And so having that is a really big deal. And so, yeah, that's kind of our thing. But Amber, do you want to chat about like what this event is? This is a big thing for you too. Like it's a huge thing that you're pulling off. I'm just super honored and fangirl to be a part of it. So,
Yeah, I think this was like the elements of connection were like the baby steps leading up to this.
mhm.
And it was because I feel like this idea came to me like probably 4 years ago or whenever we first had our podcast, it was right before that. And I just wanted a platform that people that do things in their own way that aren't like mainstream, that aren't ending up at regular expos, could be at, but have it be like a blend of like an expo and a clinic and like an experience and like something that like I would want. I just create things I would like to go to. And so it
Fair.
having, huh?
I said that's fair.
Oh yeah. um, so yeah, it's interesting because the elements that everyone brings to this is rooted in that deep connection and with the horse and being able to tap in and listen to yourself and honor yourself. And even talking about your post yesterday, speaking to their nose, and I think people don't honor their own nose. So how could they go forth and honor their, like they don't even know what their nose are sometimes. And so being able to do the work for yourself first and really understand that, and to be able to like advocate for the horses and for yourself and the work that you're doing personally with your horse. Because I mean, I feel like there's more now, but a lot of trainers that you're going to go to, and I know people have limited resources in their areas and stuff, and to be able to say, wait, I know enough to know that like this is not how I want to do this. And so being able to say that and know when to move on. And there are so much resource doing stuff online now, but so it is. I wanted to bring together that piece and have it be more expansive as far as the community and have people be able to come. I've gone to so many live events that were not horse related where I had these huge transformations within myself and then witnessed people have these huge transformations. And then you leave with this entire like family that you've met in real life, which I feel like is so valuable and people are really craving that right now because we have done so much stuff online. So having people be able to show up in real life and like hug you and like, share your own journey and have them hear it and be like, oh my gosh, that's me too. I think the biggest thing with the events that the retreats that we've been doing, Shaylee and I, and also with Elements of Connection was that piece where you leave and you're like, oh, I have people that fully understand me and can fully like, I can go to for support. And, I know that if I'm struggling, no one's going to judge me. No one's going to be like, oh, wait a minute. Like, shouldn't you be past that? You've already done that, which I feel like happens a lot in real barn life. um, so the community piece is huge for me. And, me and Shaylee always joke all of us talk about, especially with Elements of Connection. It's like anytime we're going to offer something you end up having to go through the experience at some level to be able to expand yourself, have the capacity to hold the space for people. And so speaking to like that piece of that I was really clinging to actually was, we're horse trainers. Don't worry, we're horse trainers. Let me put it in the sales page. We're horse trainers, everyone. Come because we're horse trainers. And I literally was like, I was feeling so stuck in this. And I recognized just in the last 48 hours that it was like, that was my piece that I was still clinging to. Like, no, we have to pretend like this is just a regular horse event. And then when people get there, they're going to realize how special it is. But it was like, no, when I came to all the girls, and I was like, look, I'm kind of struggling with the sales pages. I feel right to me, and a couple of people had expressed like, oh, the energy is off. Like, what is it? And it was that piece for me where I needed to just let go and go, what we do is very special. And what we do is elements of horse training weaved in, but it's so much more than that. And to not hide from that piece. And I feel like I've been shedding those layers and I thought I was good, but in the last 48 hours, I was like, oh, there's another one. So yeah, it's, not feeling you have to describe like what you do. That you just get to show up like really authentic and be like, here's my work, here is my medicine, and have people witness it. And so yeah, so the event I feel like is that where you get to go watch people in the arena have the transformations with these six. We have Tara Davis, Celeste is going to be there, Ellie O'Brien, we have Steffi Spielopper, Heather Korneman, and then Shaylee and I are hosting it, and then Tara Davis, and Dana Lovell. I was like, wait a minute, there's one missing.
Like there's one more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so to be able to witness transformations in the arena and have actual things that tangible things you can take home and do, but also deeply intertwining the audience, the people out watching, and letting them go through their own process as well is like something that was really important to me. I didn't want it to be just a spectator event. I wanted people to walk away like, holy shit, like I can go do so many things that I didn't think I could do before. And also now I have support.
Yeah, and I love the lineup that we have of people is really cool. I've like fangirled over Stephanie for a long time, so I'm really excited. And so we've like exchanged messages over Instagram.
Video. Sorry.
I'm very excited about that one. I'm trying to
It's cool.
find our mute on this one. There we go. And but like I've had a lot of like obviously Heather and I are really close, and so Heather and I have had some good conversations around it. And the way that it was kind of thrown out is like, hey, like you guys all do like these really cool, unique things. Let's come together and do something. And all of us were like everybody, we all have really bad imposter syndrome. And I'm like, what do I have to bring? Like, look at this lineup. Like, I don't have anything that I can share that any of them. And Heather's like, I have nothing that I can possibly share. Meanwhile, Heather is like a goddamn legend. Like, I'm like, what do you mean you don't have anything to share? You're like literally the coolest person on the planet. And what basically kind of came out that we wanted to share, and I think this falls in line with what you were talking about, like the sales stuff. And in the equestrian world, and this is where a lot of us I think are unique, is that in the equestrian realm it's very compartmentalized. There's boxes. You're an English person or you're a Western person. You're a dressage person or a jumper person. You're a reiner, you're a roper, you're a whatever. And it's not to say that you can't be a little bit of everything, because there's a lot of us that have dabbled in both, that have played around with anything. But the actual like constructs within the community are very rigid. It's very quite rigid. And the downside to that is that you miss, like, I can think of any discipline, and I can think of incredible nuanced horsemanship that goes on only in that discipline that doesn't necessarily go on over here. And if you are blind, if you choose to put your little blinders on and be like, this way of doing things is bad and wrong because I don't agree with maybe the other 75%, you miss out on some really cool stuff. And the neat thing about our lineup is we all have the same or very similar principles, which is a really big deal to me. It's one of the big things with our community that I love. And it's really, for those that don't know, like Balanced Movement Method it had a different name, and it was around, and it had principles in it. And then Warwick, who I adore, came out with the principles of horsemanship literally the week that I was posting in the masterclass. And I was like, son of a bitch, I can't use principles now. Like I have to use something else. So we had to like change the name. But the whole theory behind all of this, and I try to like really keep the energy of like they're just principles. Like you can use it interchangeably. You can, it doesn't matter what discipline you're doing. It's just a set of principles that you take to any single thing that you're trying to play with within a horse so that you have something to go off of. And so our lineup of people are all, we have really different backgrounds, and we have a lot of crossover because I think of the level of horsemen that we are. So there is a lot of crossover, but there's so many different nuances to it that basically what we're going to do is we're just going to come in, and I think we all have a little bit something different, but like for me, I'll talk about like what I talked about in the post, but my intention is to take a horse and rider through understanding how they can kind of ask those questions with their horse of being like, what are you okay with? What are you not okay with? How to find, I'm really skilled in finding gaps of education. And when I say gaps of education, I don't mean like you messed up and you missed, a step with your training. I mean like there was something that the horse maybe couldn't access that you thought that they could. Maybe like, okay, I'm really been working really hard on my shoulder ins, and sometimes I get it and sometimes I can't, and then I come in and I'm like, well, the horse can't because their left TMJ is really blocked on this side, and like C4 on the right side is kind of wonky, and I show you how to ask the questions to see if the horse is capable of doing the thing that you're asking. And then it kind of changes that perception of my horse won't do it, which is not really ever the case, or that you're a bad trainer because you're not getting it across. Instead, it just kind of gives you that altered lens of what's going on within the body and how to have that conversation. And Heather has her own way that she does the same thing. Tara has her own way that she does the same thing. Catherine has her own way like all of these guys have these incredible nuances. And so I think having a clinic where you just get to be involved because you get to talk about it and get to like be in the community of it, but to be able to, so I'm trying to admit people as I'm talking, to be able to sit and observe and feel seen and validated of the different styles of horsemanship and of trainers that are also like advocating for the horse. And I just think it's going to be really cool. And these are things that, when we talk about normal expos, you've done more expos than I have, Amber. So do you want to talk about a little bit on what you see that you didn't want this to be like what would you say like a normal expo is for horses?
I feel like this
And
was
you're like, I don't
inspired
want that.
from, yeah, this was definitely inspired from an expo that I was involved with, which is one of the bigger ones in California. And my clients wouldn't let me go do horse trainer stuff. They all were like, no, you're going to go drop people in the arena, turn your horses loose, and you're going to do. And I was like, I cannot do that at a horse expo. Like, and I did because they were like, you will. And so I was like, thank you, everyone. But in the in between time of my presentations, we were going to watch trainers and trainers that are very, oh my gosh, and they were all so excited. And then we went, and it was like, it was shocking because once you are being more mindful and you're being more conscious of like the horse's communication to you and like what it means versus what your human brain and your human conditioning around what horse training is supposed to like makes it mean, it's really hard to watch. Like it wasn't actually, we found maybe two people, and everyone had had a different lens, and we're living in our bubble at our barn, and we go, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're seeing things that, no, there's so many people, so many people sitting in the audience clapping and excited about watching a horse be put into it was a trailer loading. This is a very specific thing where this was born, was it was a trailer loading demo by a really well-known trainer, and it was kind of taking a long time. The horse was super nervous, just being in front of all those people in that environment. And then he was wanting there to be a round pen brought in, so they were kind of killing time. And he was talking about the trailer, and so they get the round pen, which is not even a large size round pen. It's basically just a couple panels to keep the horse from being able to go anywhere and not have a choice. And he said the words. He said, "This horse thinks that it's going to die when it gets in this trailer. Like this trailer it doesn't know. It thinks it could die, and all that I need to do is have him be more afraid of me than the trailer." And I was like, the actual going on? Like it was so shocking that those words even came out in the time and space that we're, and that was that was only like 3 years ago. And I was like, we know way too much to be even saying things like that out loud. Did he get the horse in the trailer? Yeah. Was it horrific to watch? Yes. I definitely left halfway through and my clients trickled out because everyone knew they all watched us walk in together. So it's like, nobody leave all at once. So we were getting out here. And so it was like, I don't want people to have to be worried about what they're going to sit down and watch. You know what I mean? I don't want I don't want that. I want everyone to feel safe. And I also didn't want you to have to pick and choose, right? Like I know plenty of trainers that I could have added to the lineup and had two different arenas and made it, but I wanted it to be more intimate. I wanted it to be like you get to watch every trainer that you want to see over instead of just one session. You know, it's 2 days in a row. So you get to watch a progression of their horse in person and them. And then so that's Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday there's like a live Q&A panel for the morning. So you know all the questions that you wanted to be able to ask, you'll be able to ask those in real time and get your stuff answered. There's going to be question boxes too, so if you feel like there's a question that popped up for you during it, you can write it and stick it in the box, and we'll get to it on the last day. So I feel like I wanted it to be like very intimate in the way where like no, you did actually get to have contact with the presenters, and mingle with them and dinner after and have conversations. And we do have extra supporting professionals that are going to be there too, and they're all going to have tables so you can have conversations with the the dentists and the human practitioners and the farriers. And so there's just this whole collection of like, how do I get the answers met? Because we know that we can't all know everything. That's just not how it works. So having a collection of people there that are all pretty much fundamentally aligned and also very different and can say the same thing differently, and then maybe that's how you hear it. And that was really important to me.
Well, and that's like the having the how what I was saying about like how we all have the same principles or at least very
Mm-hmm.
similar, because you're gonna hear us all say maybe the same thing, but we're gonna say it with our own lens, and that's so important for teaching the public because we all have a different way that we need to hear it based off of our own struggles or our own lens or our own background and training. And so I can't tell you. I think Catherine's on here. I can't tell you how many times her and we have a lot of the same clients and we'll kind of like piggyback. And Tara and I did the written course this last time, and we're gearing up to do our second one. But in the last written course, it was so funny because we talk, right? Like we're also really good friends aside from working together. And we're always talking, like we'll send voice memos back and forth after each lesson that we give. And so for those that don't know, in that course, you have 4 months, like a 4-month intensive with us. And it's like one with Tara, one with me, one with Tara, one with me. So you're going back and forth between the two of us. And we say the same thing because we're working for the same goal. Like we're trying to hit the same checkpoints with every horse and rider team. And yet there would be people that just couldn't hear what I was saying. And then Tara would say it and they were like, oh my God, this is the most brilliant thing. And I'm like, we literally covered that. And it would be the same vice versa. She would get like, she was like, oh my God, I literally said this. Why is this coming up again? And it was just so funny. But the way that we talk and the way that we explain things are so different. It's the same thing, but it's just a different way to do it. And that's so important. And it's why I really love and value the community that we have. And it's why I try to build on the teams that we have, because I don't want a carbon copy of me ever. I want somebody that has their own language, their own background, their own comfort in their profession so that they can come to the table and be like, hey, I have a similar lens. I've got some BTMM training, so I understand what we're going for like the joints and the nerve compression. But other than that, like go do, you know? Um, and it's wonderful and I love it. And I'm so excited for this event. So there's only the other thing that I love about it that you touched on is that there's not, so we're trying to keep it intimate. There's not very many slots, right?
The deeper dive, which is an extra day, which is actually over halfway sold out, which I was like, oh, maybe I should have information for next year. But people really wanted that extra day, and the extra day is a 3 hour session with Shaylee and I, where we'll spend on the property out in the freaking venue is like magical. So I can't even say enough about actual like where it's at is ridiculous. But the venue itself is just like all oak trees, and it's like the most beautiful time of the year. It's like the ocean breeze is like coming through and the weather is perfect. And so we're going to do a 3 hour ceremony around just all the work. You do get an online portion when you get a ticket, and it does prep you for the event, because I feel like I want people to have their own transformation, like I had said, when they're there. So I want everyone to be really ready for that. And so the 3 hour, and then we do a dinner, a catered dinner on the property. There's a clubhouse there with all the presenters. So you have time to like hang out with everybody, get to know everybody at like a deeper level. Those tickets are like hotcakes. Those are the ones that we're selling first. And I was like, oh, okay. So those ones are almost gone. And but yeah, there is a limited amount of tickets. We're not going to have like 500 people at this big expo. It's like I want people to be able
I
to
was like, because none of
actually,
us wanted it to be like super huge. Yeah.
yeah, like a yeah, like a wedding. So it's like I wanted people afterwards,
Yeah.
after the first day, to be able to like we're gonna have food there, so you can stay on the property, you can get dinner, you can hang out, you can talk to everybody. I wanted it to be like deeply embedded in the community. I wanted people to leave feeling like, oh my gosh, I see things so different. I know how to do things differently. And also I know I have all this support of these people that I've connected with and you can stay connected with within the Facebook group too. So that piece was really important for me.
A lot of feedback on the fact on more of the negative scale, unless you're in it, on how much the majority of us like cap our events or cap our courses or cap our things, and they're like, you should do more, and I just can't believe that there's like such a limited number. And I'm like, it's because we really, really care. Like, I could make a lot more money and I could just expansively open up and have everything be a free for all and be like, cool, let's just do this. But I wouldn't get to have the one-on-one time with the people. I wouldn't be able to like really curate things for that person and that horse because it's so different. And every horse needs something so different. And so even for these events, even though a lot of it is like an auditor, the auditors, it's not like auditing a normal clinic where you're just a whole bunch of people in a grandstand. You pay the money to watch the thing. These are like you're invested in it and you get to be a part of it and you get to ask the questions and we all get to hang out after and before. And it's it's such a different experience. We really try to have put a lot of value on family within the community. Like when I think community, I think family. And I'm an island girl growing up in Hawaii. So when I think family, I'm like, it's tight, right? Like we have each other's backs. It's like I will take a bullet for you in a heartbeat. And I don't mean that like in any way exaggerating. Like that is how I feel about my people. And I've watched that at every clinic, especially like the elements of connection. One of the things that I wanted to touch on, especially in terms of like the post that I wrote and just in general, and I think that a lot of people just need to hear this, is when not everybody is fortunate enough to be in a place where either you just have your horses at home and you're just working within the safety of your own place where you can just go out quietly and you can look like a weirdo and do all of your weird things that are just quiet with you and your horse and nobody can judge you. There's not a lot of people that have that, right? A lot of people have to go to a barn and there's other trainers and there's other people riding their horses in the background. Like I think there was a video that got shared on Facebook and it was like the Olympics weren't warming up and there was a girl that was like demonstrating. She was riding her horse bareback in a halter and they were doing some upper level movements and it was like this really beautiful, like, oh, that's so nice. And in the background there's somebody lunging and like draw reins and the horse is like crammed in and foaming at the mouth and you're like, that's the majority of people's reality. It's like you go to this place and you're like, okay, I'm going to try really hard to do this mindful practice. I'm going to explore BTMM or I'm going to explore like what Felicity is doing or I'm going to explore these different concepts. And I look like a freak. And people are like, why are you only walking your horse? Why are you walking away when you why did you stop doing that because your horse pinned their ears? What's the matter with you? Like show them what's up. So you have this like inner conflict, and then it gets 10 times worse if you have your vets not on board, your trainers not on board. A lot of boarding facilities, you have to be in training with the trainer to to board there. And so what if, as you're learning and you're trickling out of this, and then you're like, but where I keep my horse, I have to be in training. I have several clients that are in this really shitty place right now because number one, nobody's going to know your horse better than you ever. I might be able to come in and say, because I know the body and I know different things, I might be able to come in and put a name to what something in your gut already knew. But I have rarely ever had a horse and rider team where the owner didn't know something was up with the horse and had just been gaslit for a very long time. the mass majority knew the whole time. And I think that that's really important for people to hear. And so then what happens is like you have this internal thing where like something doesn't feel quite right. You're not completely agreeing. You feel like something's wonky. And then you hear a podcast and you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. Or you just filled in the blanks for this. Or, oh my gosh, I read this article and it completely gives words to what I've been struggling with my horse. But everybody else says that this is normal. And this is like an everyday that all of us hear all the time. And it's heartbreaking. But what you get at these events, or you get, you know, when you do these like deep dive courses with us, is it's really hard to stand firm in what you want to do if you're still a little bit not sure. And that happens anytime you change beliefs. You see this in politics, you see this in religion, you see this in all over. This isn't just a horse thing. But when you're not really firm on what your belief system is, it's really hard for you to feel integrated and grounded in a world of chaos. So at this point, at this stage in my life, I can go and be in the middle of anything around anybody with all of their psychotic ways of thinking with horses. And it doesn't it doesn't even register to me to believe in what they're saying because I know what's true. It doesn't mean that I'm done growing. I've got a lot more things that I need to learn. But I don't ever worry about being in an environment that is going to be unhealthy for my horse because my knowing is already this way. If that makes sense. And I'm so grounded in that it's easy for me to do it. So I can be around a lot of people. I can go to clinics that I will 100% not agree with the people, and I'll still take something away. And it doesn't ever make me feel like, oh, maybe I'm doing this wrong, or maybe I should be, like I don't have that because I've been able to work so much in this embodied state. And it's what I have watched basically every single person that's gone through these clinics be able to walk away from. And I think that's the big like community thing that we're trying to offer is the ability for you to go somewhere to witness several different professionals from different backgrounds, the similar principles, similar ethos, and your knowing, your intuition gets to watch the horses that we work with, and you get to decide in your innards, be like, yeah, that's right. Yes, that feels good to me. This is kind of the path that I want to be on. And it starts like rebalancing your internal guidance system so that then when you're back home, and you're doing the things that feel good to you and you have this like I remember what this looked like, I remember what this feels like, I feel really embodied and grounded in it, and then you go around like the crazy chaos, it's so much easier for you to be like that doesn't feel good to me anymore. Versus before getting to experience it, sometimes you're like, well, maybe it doesn't feel good, but they all say that it's the right thing and everybody's winning and like maybe this is just kind of the path. Like it's your guidance system gets so clear, and that's like I think the core of what a lot of us want to work on. Like obviously we're doing stuff for the horses, but I was talking to Bex yesterday and Erin because she shared my thing, and I was like, yeah, man, like the number one thing, because she sees it too, is getting to watch the owners of the horses all of a sudden be able to have their own boundaries, their own groundedness, their own ability to say, no, this is what's good for my horse and this is not good for my horse. And oh, well, to the rest of it. And it's so cool to watch. So you get to heal, that, and you'd said it, Amber, the like the ability of we're showing up for the horses and we're teaching them like it's okay for you to say no. We're not going to push past your boundary. We're not going to do those things. And how hard that is sometimes because we do it all the time. We do it every day. We go and we do stuff all the time where you're like, oh, I didn't really feel very good, but it's societally accepted, or like I just need to go along with what my trainer says, and I'll just make sure that the noseband isn't like super tight, but I do have to put the flash on, and like, like, and you get to a point where you're like, no, I don't want to. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to. And that's what we all really love teaching. And then along with that, when you have an experience you don't like, now you have a whole community of people, which is why I love the masterclass and people share wins. I can't remember the name, and I was like, this is my favorite win to date. And somebody just recently posted like, well, my horse told me I pushed past the boundaries and he bucked me off. And I was like, yes, but she was so like, no, like I knew it. I knew that I shouldn't have done it. I knew what was going on and I did it anyway. And it was just the level of like joy of accountability that went with it was so beautiful, and like everybody's hopping on and we're like, yeah, this is my story, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's great. And that's like, and how much easier is it going to be for her to like move into the world and be like, you know what, having a boundary is actually not a bad thing. And if people don't want to respect it, that's okay. Like you can move on. That's all right. And
Yeah.
I had to learn it the backwards way. Like I watched it with my Sarah. That was me. Yeah, that was you. Okay. And like I learned it the backwards way, right? Like I was like a super abused foster kid and I was lucky to get teamed up with horses, but I recognized like I could see myself and like the things that I was feeling in them. And so it was really easy for me to show up for them. It was really easy for me to do that. But I didn't have any boundaries and I didn't have any self-respect and I didn't have any of those things. But I learned from the horses and I watched how the horses were able to soften and change when people showed up for them. And, took me 20 some odd years, but I eventually, I watched my mare and I'm like Sassy is everything I want to be when I grow up. Like if I could have boundaries like Sassy, oh man, my life would be so much better.
I say that about my mare. She's like,
Yeah.
and she's so like expressive and fully embodied, and like always says no when she needs to say no, and she's just
Hmm.
like all
And
out there, doesn't give a
completely
totally unhinged.
unapologetic.
Yeah,
Like there's no,
dude. And I
like
think it's like
after you,
learning
sorry, I
to
didn't
like
like that. Don't do that.
yeah, learning to appreciate that, the things about them that in like, you know, the real horse world where people would see that as like a negative behavior, something that
Right.
needs to be fixed. When we're like, no, like this horse is finally not shut down and it's pinning its ears and it's trying to bite me. And now it's like now all of a sudden it's like kicking out. And you're like, thank God, because before it was like a robot, so that
Right.
you're things that, are finally seen as there's expression happening, we're on the right track, which in the other direction, it's like, we need to fix that. It's like, that's
Well,
not the thing.
no, but they also say that about women, which is
Yes.
why we're all so drawn to horses. And that's why when we start doing this, we're like, oh, this feels really good. So there was a Taylor Swift interview that I was watching, and I'm gonna not say it right, but I was like, yeah, that's rad. She was talking about, and I love men, and we all have lots of good men, and I'm not trying to man bash here, but in the majority of society, what she was saying, she's like, it's really hard to be a woman because to be a woman means that you have to quietly just accept men's poor behavior. Because if a man behaves badly or out of line in any way, and I'll interchange this with like if anybody, because I see this happen woman to woman too, but if somebody behaves badly and a woman reacts to that poor behavior, even if it's like flat out of line, if a woman reacts in any way to that behavior, the reaction is seen as the offensive part, not what actually caused it. And I'm like, that's literally what it is for the horses all the time. And we watch it. And it's why I think sometimes when women have dealt with a lot of abuse and they haven't had the opportunity to have the pendulum kind of swing the other way, they have a harder time and they end up being like almost meaner to their horses and like more controlling on them because they also don't have that liberation. And so getting to kind of watch that unfold and being like, it's okay to say no, it's safe to say no, you should have your boundaries respected. Like it's such a personal journey for us as women that we work through this with our horses. And it's just, yeah, super rad to see.
Yeah. We're just speaking to the woman part because I will say that over the last 3 years, it is definitely an interesting shift to be able to go to other women for support too,
Oh my God,
because
right?
other women are they can be really
I
gnarly.
have a group
So
of women as friends. This has never happened in my entire existence.
I
Like,
know,
this is
I
amaze
know.
balls to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not even like no, it's not your like cheerleading squad. Shaylee over the last 2 weeks have been like, can you stop talking like that? Like smacked across the face, like stop saying those words. And I was like, oh my God. So it's not and to have, we were talking about the marketing and I had one of the girls reach out to me and like and I know her and I know how hard this was. And I was like, I am so open and receptive to anything and all critique and feedback and whatever, because I know that you can feel deeply that I don't have friends and women in my life that judge me. I know that like everyone is
Hmm.
coming from like this highest and best. There's not a competition. It is like I need help. Like I am
Nope.
struggling right now. And it's like you can come to people and then feel supported and not feel like someone's going to use it against you or someone's
Right.
going to judge you for it. It's like that as a core group of, I have so many women like that in my life in different ways, including all of the women that are presenters here. So it's like, I want that for everyone. And I feel like the people that are called to come to this event also want that, but then they get to like experience it at some level. And I feel like at EOC, that is what all of the women that have done EOC have said, like, holy shit, like they're still so connected. And the first time when we did was years ago, and everyone is still talking all the time. They're co-creating things together. It's like the trickle down effect is huge, but like I want that for everyone, even if you just have one person like that, that you didn't come in with, that you bond with. They're like, hands down, like I know it's a horse event, but I'm like, no, everyone needs to experience this piece because it's so magical.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that we just, the whole part, like the equine alchemy is the fact that we're using the horses also to heal ourselves, and it's both. It's we're we're both showing it for the horses, but we can't do that without also showing it for ourselves and each other. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. And um, like one of the things that I love about spending time with, I've spent a lot of time, not as much time as I would like, but I've gotten the opportunity to spend a lot of time with Heather, Tara, and Catherine. And the way that they do their training is how they do everything. Like you will watch Catherine be meticulous with every single step of how she moves her body because that's her magic. That's what she knows. Tara, same thing. Everything about how she plays with the horses is how she pours a cup of coffee. Heather, everything about how she works with her horses, and like you watch it in every rope that she does and every knot that she ties and how she opens her car door. Like it's it's a way of life that these women are doing. And I think that's why we all, I don't know, my own nuances. I'm sure that I have them at some point. I just feel like a chaotic mess half of the time. But the way that we do things with the horses is also how we show up for each other. And there's never a time where you're going to see any of us just like go over and belittle a horse that's acting inappropriately, right? We're going to try to like look at the environmental reasons, look at the physical reasons, look at the emotional reasons, look at the spiritual reasons. Like we have a global view of everything about what's going on, and we go into it with the intent to restore the horse back to its power and restore the horse back to its best being. And so what we all do to each other, like all of us nose bop the shit out of each other. And we have all done it multiple times. Like I cannot tell you how many times these girls have been like, yo. And I'm like, I know. I'm just having a minute. Just give me like 3 days and I'll pull my head out of my ass. I'm sorry. I'll do it in a minute. Um, I think one of the comments that Tara made one time, she's just like, so your responses are a little less diplomatic than they usually are. Have you slept much? What's going on? Like, how can we show it for you? But it's never in a like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, and it's never in a way, like you said, that feels judgy. It's in a like, something in your life needs support. Something's going on. How can we come in and like shine a light? Like, hey, this thing's not really like your highest self. How do we bring you up? And so getting to have that for all of the people at the clinics too. And it's how we are with the humans. It's like we get to show up and kind of like cradle you in this big hug of like, okay, not the greatest thing that's been going on, but you're aware of it and we're aware of it. And we also know that that's not where you're wanting to go. So we're just going to love you through to the other side. And then you have this huge group of people that are all doing it. And it's so fun. Anyway,
Yeah.
Before we leave, I know Catherine's on here. I don't know, Catherine, if you want to unmute, if you have anything to say. I saw Heather on here. I know Heather hates Zoom, but if you want to unmute and say anything, yeah.
Sailor Moon's playing in the background, which is really funny.
Yes.
So if you hear Sailor Moon, that's Logan. Hopefully preparing to take a little nap.
I know you need him to take a nap.
It would be lovely, Yeah, we're talking about you. But really, no, I just wanted to step on and reiterate again your point of all of the presenters and supportive professionals. This is how they live their life. They don't just play an aligned horsemen on TV. Like they really are aligned in especially whatever areas that they've chosen as their focus. And it's really cool to integrate into that community and watch what it looks like to see people in their element and then carry that forward into each piece. I had a good giggle. Of course, I was muted about like Tara really does pay attention to how she makes and pours her coffee. There is nothing like coffee that Tara has made because of the way that she brings play and fun, and you can see her, you know, thinking about what little thing might this coffee like, let alone what might this human or cup or, you know, horse like. And same thing, you know, having had many lessons with Celeste of, she is so good at the little, when you look at a stepping stone in your life and you're like, I don't really feel like stepping on that one, so I think I'll just jump over it. And she's like, ah, what was that?
Yes,
like,
you
what?
can.
And watching Amber and Shaylee, who each do, of course, beautiful, unique work in their own spaces, but also the way you two collaborate so effortlessly is such a, just a thing to behold, just to sit back and watch you two read the energy and move through the room. It's just beautiful. So I love that the event has been set up totally different than the expos that I've been into in the past, where everything feels like an advertisement, and this feels like we're coming into everyone's home and having a great big Irish or Italian dinner and sitting down and going, here, try my dish. Here, try this. Oh my gosh, did you put Parmesan in that? No way. And
also for Catherine, what I really wanted her to be able to do is after the lunch break, bring everybody back into their bodies. So having the same thing, having the participants that are out in, I don't even want to call you auditors, there's so much more than that. Have an actual experience where there will be questions asked of you. There's going to be things that you're going to write out in your journals while you're in the audience, things to help you go deeper while you're even witnessing someone else go through something. And you're going to say, wait a minute, that actually looks like what I've gone through, you know? And it's like, can you ask yourself these questions while these people are having these things? Having Catherine does the coolest shit. So I was like, Catherine has to bring everybody back into their bodies after lunchtime, so that we can come back and be present. And so you are going to have this like actual physical experience as well. It's going to be so fun.
That's the physical experience. It's my jam.
Yeah.
So rad.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions about just like anything in general? This is kind of like a free for all for the last few minutes, if you want. Miss Caroline McCoy.
Let me unmute. Hi. Yeah, just sort of a standard question. How many people will be in, you know, what's the number of people when it's sold out? How many people will be there?
At the very most, I think it's going to be like 150. That would be top. But we're aiming around like 50, 75-ish, like small wedding, you know, where it's big enough to create a big impact and have enough family, but also not be so big that, you know, it's like you're lost in this crowd. I had a conversation with a lot of the people that have already bought tickets, and a theme that they had said was that they're not like people, you know, they're like, we don't really, you know, people kind of, you know, but we really love the horses. So I didn't want it to be so overwhelming, because I know a lot of people resonate with that. We're like, well, I'm really comfortable with the horses, but like I'm an introvert and going out and doing this event. And what if I go by myself? And, you know, so I wanted to be not so large that people that are in that space feel lost, but also big enough to make an impact and have like an expansive, you know, community for people to learn from and talk to and connect with. So yeah, I'd say like small wedding.
Okay. And will there be horses there? Will we be working with horses, or just as people working with people?
Each trainer will have a horse and person that they're going to work with for each hour. So the schedule is such that Shaylee and I will open up the event, get everyone sort of present and in it. And then each trainer will have about an hour, and they'll be working with, for the 2 days, they'll be working with a horse and a person pair. So you get to see the progression over the 2 days. You'll get to kind of understand the story, that kind of stuff. And I think I am also going to probably beforehand send an email out to let everyone know, here are the horses, this is their story, you know, so you'll get to know them a little bit before we even get there. Integrated and weaved in between that stuff will be questions asked of the audience as well while the presenters are going with the horses. So that experience piece for the people watching, that's kind of how that's integrated in. And there's a ceremony for each day. You know, the first day for the people watching it's really diving into like, what do I want to let go, of this event? Do I have a belief about myself? Do I have a story about myself? Is there something that's been holding me back, that I'm like searching for, that I want to kind of, clear? And when you get into the online portion, it takes you through this piece where you'll get to write this out and make it a very like strong intention of, I'm ready to let this piece go that's been keeping me separate or keeping me playing small or not showing up or not wanting to be seen. And we're gonna have I have a big cauldron now. So we'll be burning those because I like to burn stuff. And the second day, there's this integration of, after that, the theme being, once you sift through all of the beliefs and the stories and the things people have told you about horsemanship or about yourself or about how things are supposed to or not supposed to be, what's left over, and like, what do you want to carry forward? What do you want to take through? And then the last day is, there's a special ceremony around that you'll be able to have the energy of that event. You'll have something to take home with you. So it's very much like an experience for the person sitting in the audience, but also you're witnessing people have a transformation in front of you. And more often than not, you're going to realize, oh, I can see myself in that person that is out in the middle of the arena. I can see what they're going through. That's what I've gone through.
Last question. Do you have to have an Instagram account too? Because I don't have an Instagram account, so I can't seem to get at the joining part.
No, there'll be a link.
Be.
Yeah, you can sign up through a link that we'll have, and then the online portion will get sent to you in an email. And that's separate from social media. There's nothing, you don't need social media for that piece.
Okay. All right.
Good.
I just saw that Ellie's on here. Ellie, do you want to hop on and say anything?
I'm on my phone. I can't see anybody. It's not ideal.
That's Amari.
Hi. Ellie is one of our presenters too.
There we go.
I won't turn my video on because I've literally just rolled out of bed and
good morning.
It's 6 a.m. here.
Ellie's from New Zealand. She's gracing us with her presence, coming all the way over here from New Zealand. So we're super excited.
It'll be such a rad track.
It is going to be so much fun. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody, and I loved when I jumped in before you were talking about just the group of women coming together, and that's really one thing that stood out for me. I'm like, yeah, that's so exciting to have women lifting up other women.
Yeah, it's very needed, I feel like, especially in social media land.
Social media land, horse land.
Yeah.
I had a quick question about logistics, if I may.
Yeah.
Will folks be staying overnight at the venue? Is there lodging there, or do we need to coordinate something off-site?
Yeah, so when you go on the sales page, there is a question and answer section, and it has the address of the venue, and you can look up Airbnbs and hotels that are in the surrounding areas. I do believe you can dry camp there. I can check with that, but I know it is dry camping. And also, yeah, and a lot of people have messaged me about coordinating with other people that have bought tickets. So once you're in the Facebook group, you can use that space to say, hey, I want a roommate, got an Airbnb, it has a couple rooms, I want to ride share, carpool, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so you can find your perfect partners in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was the other thing that I loved about the elements connection, and I'm sure people that go in audit clinics more readily have more experience than I do. So I'm like a super introvert, like a super recluse. Like even when I go and I clinic other places, I'll get my own place and I'll like hide after the clinic because I just need silence for a few hours. I need there to be like not other souls in the room. I'm very, and I think people don't like quite realize that about me because I have to be so like in the public. I'm like, I'm gonna go take like a 4-hour nap after this. Not really, but what I loved about the elements connection thing is that we all like shared a place, which was really cool, all the presenters. So we got to go home and have a downside, but like everybody was staying with a group of people and watching the sisterhood that happened. Like they all, like half of them had never met before, and then we threw them all in a house, way different backgrounds, way different ages, way like from all over the world, all over the country. and they're still like best friends to this day. Like they're still tagging each other on stuff, and they're like co-creating their own little things. I'm like, this is so cool. Like we just like introduce these little, it's like we get to play like matchmaker, and it's so fun. Which is like my
Yeah,
secret
so
favorite thing to do. It's what I did with you and Shaylee. And I'm like, no, you guys are
same,
going
I
to be the
know.
most best of friends. Tara and Ashley. I'm like, how have you guys not met? You guys are the same human, Catherine and Kaden. And I'm like, no. We're really good at this matchmaking thing.
Yeah, I think the invitation to go a little bit out of your comfort zone, you know, if you are an introvert. I know I've been to a lot of events and I have done that where I've just stayed with people I didn't know. Um, and I think the nature of the event and the people that are signing up to come are all so aligned that there is no way you can't not just end up with exactly who you're supposed to meet. That's
Yeah.
the synchronicity around that is, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm a little uncomfortable, but probably so is everyone, you know, and then all of a sudden your nervous system gets
Yeah.
to experience this like new safety in this thing that you thought for sure was going to be like so awkward and horrible. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can connect with, you know, strange random women and be loved and supported. And like, I didn't even know them before. So,
have it be a good experience. So
mhm.
good. Heather, are you working a cow, or do you want to hop on and say something? I swear to God, half the time this woman hops on calls, she's just like, I'm going down a cliff. Hang on. Hold, please.
I rode with Heather the other day.
It wasn't bad at all, was it?
No, it was great. My horse is he's just a wild AF, and I'm glad that we got to ride and she got to the under. It's hard riding with people that don't understand really, really cowbred horses, and you're just trying to walk down the trail.
Where for me, he's normal. Like I look at him and I watch him and I'm like, I don't even understand. I don't understand. He looks normal to me. He looks perfect. I love him. Leave him. I will keep him forever. That was my thought. I want
He's
him.
spicy. He's spicy. He's spicy.
No, I'm not doing anything scary at the moment. I'm
Holla.
drinking and listening to all of you describe this and help, and it's actually helping me even get a clearer picture. You know, hearing everyone else's heart for it helps me understand a little bit more about the need. You know, because I sometimes don't see it as much as everyone else does. You know, like there's a lot of women that cowboy like I do, and we are all very supportive of one another because we are necessary, and everyone knows that we're necessary now. And so I think that's the way it's supposed to be. But yet you don't get to be as close, you know, because everyone's on their own island, way isolated from everyone else, all doing the same thing. But this offering, you know, of a closer community, a more supportive on through the journey community is really special. And I love being a part of it. It's very, yeah, I love it.
Well, I always feel better when you're going to be involved in anything that I'm going to. So I'm really excited that you're coming.
I don't know what that means.
I will say that
you're
these
like the
presenters
coolest
are like
person
the
in the
most
world.
and the most humble group of these women, the most humble. Okay, honestly, because when I invited each of them, none of them understood why I would invite them, no matter how successful they are. And everyone fangirled on each other, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh!" So it's like very human. I feel like sometimes when you see people doing their thing and they're doing it, have big followings, and they have these expansive experiences and these online courses and the stuff that we do, it's like, yeah, but we're very much human, and it isn't like we're different in any way, shape, or form. Like we are experiencing the same exact thing that every single person's experiencing at just a different level. You know what I mean? And so it's like nobody there is gonna show up like their shit don't stink. And that's my favorite part about everyone is that they're not judging themselves, they're not judging you, and then they're all forever students of the horse, and we're all here for like the same reason. And that's what makes it feel so safe for me to not worry about people that I've invited to be presenters, because no one would even, there's not even that opportunity for something to happen because everyone's so grounded and so just really real, which is my favorite part.
I think one of the big things that sets us apart from, and there's a lot of other rad mindful horse trainers out there. I'm not saying it's just our group. There's many people outside of like our own circle that do this, but what sets us apart from like traditional clinicians and traditional expos that you see for me is that because we all live a life that's very much dedicated to like the well-being of our horses, like very, very much, like everything is centered around their well-being, you know, and again, coming from different lenses, and whether it's coming from like joints and nerves, or it's coming from the feet, or it's coming from their teeth, or it's coming from like whatever, emotional, spiritual, our main lens for our horses is their well-being, versus a lot of trainers are like, what can I teach the horse and what can I teach you to teach the horse? And those are, it's just a two, not that that's necessarily bad, but if you have this consistent lens and this ego that we have in the industry of like, I'm going to teach you how to do a correct pee off, and I'm going to teach you flying lead changes, and I'm going to teach the horse this, versus coming in with a, would this movement benefit this horse and why? You know, how can we do this? And just having these two very different lenses. And because we have that, because we're always a student of the horse, and so every single horse that you bring to me, it's always this, and not just me, but all of us, it's, we're asking questions, we're looking for that feedback, we're checking in and seeing, you know, where's the gap, what do they need, where are the holdings, and how to teach you to do a similar thing, instead of, you know, breaking free of this like I know better than the horse lens. And
Mhm.
it's why we're so humble, I think, is because we're on an ever evolving circle of trying to show up and learn and do better for them, and like knowing that we don't have all the answers, because every single horse that we pull out is teaching us something, and it keeps us very rooted and very grounded, and that's something that I think everybody should benefit from, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you don't humble yourself, they'll humble you.
They'll humble you for it.
And we've already learned those lessons. We don't need to go back and learn those ones again. So there's the benefit of that.
No, ma'am.
Hmm.
All right, my loves. If there's anything else pressing, we can do it. Justina asked if it's going to be recorded. I don't think we're going to have it's. This isn't going to be a live event, right? It's just going to be in person. We're not going to have
Yeah,
any.
I don't think so. We did toy with the idea of maybe doing something for the people that were, you know, far, far away, but we bounced back and forth. I don't know, because I feel like being in person and having the experience is like such a big part of it. So
It's also really hard to get a lot of stuff. I will tell you, and maybe this is a limiting belief that I just need to work through until I can be a better grown up, but it's really hard to capture magic on camera.
yes,
And I say
yeah.
this in that, like, when you pull a camera out, whether it's because I hate being on camera, so I get stupid and my energy gets wonky, so my horse is like, the hell is wrong with you? You know, so there's this trickle effect, right? So there's that. Or maybe it's just a different energy that comes off because technology is being involved more. So I don't know what it is, but I will tell you that like it's really hard to get, like when I did the self-study for the nerve release course, it was so hard for me to get the footage, but it was just like hours of footage to get something that's actually quite small and simple, because the minute we would start, it would just all go to shit. And I was like, okay, we got to work through this. And the people that have done the certifications, they know it's like when they, the minute there's a camera that gets pulled out for you to have to record your studies, you're like, Caroline's rolling her eyes. Yeah, it's like not like it, without a doubt. And it's also what makes it really potent, because you have to learn to control your energy in those moments. So it is really powerful. And it's good for us as practitioners to have to do for our courses. And it's good for us as practitioners to do for our testing. And knowing that it's that much of a pain in the ass and that it affects the energy of things so hard, the idea of having that at a clinic like this that is supposed to be so intimate and so energetic and so precious is like, yeah. I don't wanna. But so Jessica said, darn, I was hoping for a thing. I know that like you and Shaylee do a lot of things online. All of us do a lot of online things. We also all offer, I think in different at different times and places, we all of us offer one-on-one sessions too as well in different forms. So if it's something that like you're really wanting to like curate or have something a part of, there's going to be different offerings that would help you with that for sure. Chloe asked where it's located. It's in, Optos? Is that how you say it? Optos?
It's in Carmel, California, so it's a little bit south of me.
Okay.
Carmel is right on the coast, and it's a little bit below Monterey, which is, I guess, and Big Sur, kind of all of that. It's probably
Southern
one of the most,
California.
It's more central. It's up by me. So it's ish. It's like I don't even. It's Bay Area-ish.
Okay.
A little south, a little in between.
The address is, well, in the comments of the posts that had the Zoom link, when I post the recording, I'll also post the website for it in there.
Yeah, the website has all the details, so you can look it up and map it and stuff like that. But it is one of the most beautiful places in California, actually. So if you haven't been, I want to live there one day, which is probably partially why I did this there. But it's like epic. So just even being in energy of that area itself is going to be magic. So I don't know, all the things.
All the things.
Hmm.
Super exciting. All right. Well, it was super rad to see you guys, and I hope that outside of the event itself, I hope that you guys at least still feel all of the support and love in the masterclass, and that you guys feel supported when you post things, or if there's anything that you want to share, whether it's energetic hardships or, you know, you're just like, man, this conversation was really tough, or I have to have this really tough conversation. You have any advice, like use it, you know, use the group, use the community. We're all here for you in a really, really big way. So, all right.
Cool.
I'm glad
All
we
right.
worked
Well,
it out.
yeah.
Glad Zoom worked.
I even had the thought yesterday to say maybe we should just do Zoom because the other girls, and I was like,
okay.
Oh, whatever.
Now we know.
It's
From
fine.
now on,
Now we
we're
know.
just gonna lead with Zoom, and it's gonna be fine. All right.
All right.
Bye,
All right.
lovies.
See you later. Bye.